Hello. Imagine a small sign on a quiet street in Texas. ENRON. Nothing special, just an office with the smell of fresh paint and coffee, the rustle of papers on the desk, the ringing of the phone, and the world is just beginning to open up. But behind that unassuming door was a story that would change everything you knew about success. I invite you on a journey. Together we will try to solve one of the greatest mysteries of business. This is a story about a dream, about ambition, about risk, and about a deception that has become legendary. You will be a detective trying to understand how a small company turned into a giant and then disappeared in the smoke of a scandal. Who benefits from this? And why did no one see the collapse that was already brewing? Listen carefully. Every scene, every number, every high-profile contract is a trail to be read. And the further we go, the more mysteries will arise before us. Where is the truth, and where is the illusion? Who is running the game? And what will remain after the light of truth shines? Are you ready? Then let's start from the very beginning, from that humble door through which a great dream grew. Imagine 1985, Texas. Two men, Kenneth Lay and Jeff Skill, stand in a modest office, staring at the blank walls and dreaming. All around them is the smell of fresh paint, the rustling of papers, the faint rumble of cars outside the window. They know the energy landscape is changing, and those who understand it first can rewrite the rules of the game. Here begins the trail that we will follow together. In every contract, in every number on paper, there is a small clue. At first, everything seems simple. Gas sales, small deals, a few clients. But a detective who looks closely notices something strange. Some contracts look too good to be true. Is this a happy coincidence, or the first hint of a cunning game? And here comes the first question you will constantly ask yourself. Why are they so confident? What makes this small company special? We see the first victories. Lay and Skill sign small contracts, open the door to new partners. But the detective feels a shadow. There are still whispers in the office about risks, about market instability. This is the moment when the dream is still pure, but the seeds of doubt have already been planted. These small steps contain all the magic of a great story. Humble beginnings, energy, a desire to change the world. And it is here that we begin to gather the first clues that will later turn into a real detective maze. What is hidden behind the beautiful numbers? Who really benefits from these deals? And is it possible that the shadow of a future catastrophe is already visible on the horizon? Listen carefully, because every sound, the phone ringing, the rustling of paper, the laughter in the hallway, is a small clue for someone who wants to uncover the secret of ENRON. The energy market is volatile. One day prices drop, competitors move in, and even the most ambitious plans can falter. ENRON faces its first big challenge. Listen, the office noise has changed. The calls are no longer bold and festive. They are tense, sometimes anxious. Faces full of doubt are visible in meetings. Someone whispers in the hallway. Someone nervously looks through documents. And here the first serious question for the detective arises. Why do they take risks when everything seems to be falling apart? Each crisis is like a small trace. At first it is barely noticeable, but if you look closely, you can see a pattern. Some deals look too complicated to be honest. Here, hints begin to appear that the truth and the appearance of success may not coincide. ENRON takes its first tentative steps forward. Lay and Skill devise new strategies to keep the company afloat. But the detective sees that every decision is a balance between reality and risk, between dreams and tricks. Scene: an evening in the office. The light of a lamp falls on a pile of documents. The phones ring nonstop, and cars hum quietly outside the window. Everything around seems ordinary, but every sound, every whisper is a small clue for those who want to solve the mystery. The question that will stay with you going forward: what will the company do to survive? Can the dream be saved without betraying its principles? This crisis is the first real test. And it is here that we see that what at first glance seems like a small mistake can become the first link in a chain that will one day lead to a huge fall. Meanwhile, Enron finds its first big opportunity. Gas trading, new contracts, strange but profitable deals. The company is growing, and everything seems to be going according to plan. The scene: celebrations in the office, clinking glasses, laughter and joking exclamations. But in the background, whispers about the risks and that some of the numbers look too good to be true. Our detective is already suspicious. He notices strange traces, incomprehensible financial moves, deals that seem to hide more than they reveal. What really lies behind the brilliance of success? He asks himself. And here's the first mystery. The company is growing incredibly fast. It fascinates everyone. But for the detective, some things seem unnatural. Why is everything going so smoothly? Why are the numbers on paper almost perfect? These are the first hints of the drama to come. Scene: night in the office, lights shining over documents, phones still ringing, the smell of coffee and a bit of paper in the air. The detective reviews the contracts and notices the first anomalies, small cracks in the facade of great success. The question you will ask yourself next is, what cards have not yet been revealed? What do they hide behind the smiles and statistics? As the company celebrates, the detective sees the story only gaining momentum. This is where the real investigation begins. How ambition and risk translate into a culture that could one day soar to the heavens or fall into the abyss. The company grows, and leadership passes into the hands of Jeff Skill. Everything changes here. A new energy appears in the office. Noisy meetings, loud statements, endless debates. Someone proposes a risky deal. Someone insists on caution. Skill makes decisions that change the rules of the game. The detective looks closely at these events. What is really behind these strategic decisions, he asks. And he notices the first big hints: strange financial maneuvers, deals that don't quite match reality, and numbers that look too perfect. Scene: a board meeting, lamps shining on a table with contracts, voices arguing, one person banging his fist on the table, another whispering quietly about risks. This is the moment when the detective senses that behind the facade of success lies something dark, something that will eventually become a big problem. Symbolic moments, new strategies that look like a breakthrough, but at the same time leave hints of cunning. Office scenes where employees carefully review documents and exchange glances, as if they know more than they say out loud. The question that remains hanging in the air is, what risks are they willing to take to be at the top? And where is the line between genius and deception? This is a moment of transformation. Enron is becoming more than just a company. It is becoming a cult of ambition and a culture of risk. And the detective already senses that if something goes wrong, these risks will not just shake the company, they will destroy it from within. Enron becomes an energy giant. Large offices, phones ringing nonstop, brokers boldly signing contracts for millions of dollars. Everything seems to be under control. The lights in the offices burn late into the night, and whispers of success and excitement can be heard in the corridors. But the detective senses inconsistencies. Why is the company growing so fast? Why do the numbers look so perfect? He asks himself. And here are the first hints of fraud. Incomprehensible financial moves, complex contracts that almost no one reads. Scene: a large gathering in a conference room. Loud applause after the signing of a deal, smiles and handshakes, and the detective notices several people quietly reviewing documents and exchanging glances as if they know something that the others don't. This is where the real intrigue begins. Everything is shiny on the outside, but inside there are cracks that could destroy the empire. The question for the detective and the listener is, what is hidden behind this facade? Is it too good to be true? We see the first real contrast: huge success and secret anxiety. This moment emphasizes the main detective idea. A shiny facade does not always mean honesty, and the real story is always hidden behind the numbers and smiles. The listener begins to feel that there will soon be big revelations, and the cracks that now seem small will become deep pits that will drag the company into the abyss. From the outside, everything looks perfect. Huge offices, bright conference rooms, employees smiling at meetings. But the detective watching the events sees the first disturbing signs. The calls are getting tense, the whispers in the corridors are louder, and some contracts are already looking like puzzles that are not being put together. Who really controls the game? The detective asks. And he notices. Some of the numbers are too clean, the deals are complex and confusing, and the employees carefully review the documents, exchanging glances. There are those who suspect something is wrong but are afraid to speak out. The scene. Late evening in the office. Lamps illuminating empty corridors. The sound of keys and telephones cutting through the silence. The detective carefully reviews the documents and sees traces of deception, hidden income, complex financial schemes, transactions that cannot be explained by simple logic. The question that looms is, what will happen when the light of truth shines? Will they be able to save the company, or is it already too late? The contrast becomes palpable. On the outside, a huge success. On the inside, panic and secrets that accumulate like pressure in a closed room. This is the moment when the detective understands. The real mystery of Enron is not just about ambition and risk, but how far it can go before everything collapses. Now every little clue becomes important. Calls, whispers, documents. They lead to the final revelation, to the moment when the hidden becomes apparent and the company finds itself on the brink of disaster. 2001. Everything that seemed unshakable begins to crumble. Stocks are falling, clients and investors are shocked, offices are empty. Calls that once brought joy now carry only bad news. Documents are burned. The whispers in the corridors turn into a hum of fear. The detective sees everything that was previously hidden. How did a small company become a giant? What went wrong? These questions are finally answered. It turns out that the brilliant success was an illusion. Complex financial schemes, opaque deals, and manipulations created the appearance of greatness. Those who saw only numbers and brilliance from the outside had no idea that behind the facade lurked risks that would later fall upon everyone. The scene, empty offices, scattered documents, silence, and the smell of smoke from burning papers, lonely employees looking at empty desks. This is not just the collapse of a company. It is the collapse of a dream, illusion, and trust. But the detective also notices the lessons that this story leaves behind. Every mistake, every deception becomes a signal. The power of dreams without honesty can lead to disaster. And now, when all the cards are revealed, the listener understands who really benefited from it, and why some people abused trust, while others remained true to their principles. This is the moment of truth. The Enron story is not just about the company. It is about human ambition, risk, and the moral choices that shape success or failure. And so we stand on the threshold of the end of this story. The detective who followed Enron's every move is finally gathering all the clues. We saw the small office with the sign, the first deals, the first crises, the big holidays, and the whispers in the hallways. We saw the huge success and the deep collapse. And now the answers to all the questions are before us.